Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
Put a chicken and make a game.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday midday edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular once again.
Hello.
Hello, boys, and in some cases, gals. What's going on,
In some cases, gals.
With my boys, and in some cases, gals. Thanks, everybody, for being here with us this afternoon. Got a great show for you all today. I feel pretty good about the show today. You know, a lot of meaty topics today. A lot of serious stuff today with some funny stuff as well. It's a good mix. It's a good mix.
We were talking about it offline. This is probably going to be the best show we ever did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Probably. Like the odds, the bet predict it. 67% odds.
67%.
This is the best Do Dissident show ever.
It's a very well-rounded show. It's a nice summer plate. You know, you got your meats, you got your veggies, you got your starches, you got your sauces. All comes together pretty well. We are doing the final two segments today.
No corn syrup.
No corn syrup. That's right. Of course.
This is a Maha barbecue.
That's right. Yes, exactly. We are doing the final two segments of the day over on Rumble because there's a little copyright issue with one of the videos that I'll have to fix retroactively. And then we're talking Syria, too.
We don't want to be accused of piracy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we will do the last two of the day over on Rumble, but we got plenty to get to between now and then, and a nice crowd filing in, 540 strong in the YouTube chat, 329 on Rumble. Smash that like button wherever you are. Smash that subscribe button in the YouTube room, the follow button in the Rumble room, and share this stream. Try and tweet this stream out so we get a crowd in here. We are up against the algorithm for the early show, as always. All right, let's get on with the festivities, shall we?
Okay, well, you might remember a young whippersnapper named Donald J. Trump. He was going to take on the deep state. Let's reminisce.
And if you put me back in the White House, their reign is over. Their reign will be over. And they know it. And America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation right now.
No.
We don't have free press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution.
Sounds pretty good.
Not going to let it happen. I will totally obliterate the deep state. I will fire the dissident.
Gonna obliterate the deep state. All right, well, let's hear him last night.
Things that have happened. There's the Russia collusion against you. There is Jack Smith against you. There's all the things that happened in 2020, not investigating China interference in the 2020 election. Where do you think, what are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. They don't have they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy, they have bad candidates, they have bad everything, but they stick together. The Republicans don't do that. But they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
No, they definitely set the Republicans up. One big prosecutor look at it all. Would that make you feel good, you think?
This is his kind of anchor.
Well, I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files, just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
It took 2 years to figure that out for the people.
I want this
and,
guy's
all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yeah. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. But especially you look at that Steele dossier where they paid like 14 or 16 million. That's more than James Patterson gets paid to do a #1 bestseller.
Isn't that crazy?
And the thing turned out to be a total scam.
Isn't that
so
crazy?
Frankly, I think I love that they're looking at all this stuff. If they are, I hope they are.
It's a great job that guy's got. It's the easiest job in the world. Just say yes every 10 seconds to anything he says.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's right.
Oh, that's something else. All right. He doesn't seem to get that this would be roughly equivalent to Trump waking up one day and deciding he's going to insist Hillary Clinton is probably the most honest politician we've had in the history of the nation. And she's been fighting the deep state relentlessly. And the only people who don't believe that are stupid Republicans who have been duped by Democrats into being against Hillary Clinton. That is how much of a total flip in the core mythology that he has done more to push than anybody else. This is. And yeah, this anchor man, I mean, Lordy. Lordy. That is something. Oh, Lordy. But now Massey has teamed up with Kana to push through their demand for the Epstein file release. He's got nothing to lose. Trump's primarying him anyway, and I think he's betting correctly. Not only is he unbeatable in his district, by the time you get to those midterms, Trump's endorsement is going to be more of a liability than a benefit. House Republicans on Tuesday held together unanimously to block a Democratic effort to force a debate on the release of the files. But as more of their constituents demand the release of the files, they are looking for ways to respond. Mr. Massey teamed on Tuesday with Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat of California, to file what is known as a discharge petition, which allows any member of the House to force legislation to the floor if a majority of House members, 218, sign on. By midday on Wednesday, he already had the support of at least 6 Republicans. Representatives Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Eric Burleson of Missouri, Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, and Lauren Boebert of Colorado. And the list was growing. If all Democrats signed on, Mr. Massey would have more than enough votes to force Mr. Johnson to schedule a vote on the House floor, though the Speaker could try to delay action or offer an alternative in efforts to avoid an embarrassing or divisive vote. It'd be kind of tough for him, given that he just went on Benny Johnson saying he thinks the file should be released.
Yes.
Not that that kind of hypocrisy has ever stopped these guys before. Quote, "We already have 6 Republicans. We have the leadership of the Rules Committee getting every Democrat on it," said Mr. Khanna. "The math is obvious. We're going to get a vote on the full release of these Epstein files. An overwhelming vote of Congress is not something the president can ignore politically. Try telling him that. Discharge petitions are always an uphill battle and rarely succeed. According to Grok, they succeed about 5% of the time. But Democrats and Republicans alike said this particular issue, one that is definitional to Mr. Trump's political base and is now being seized on by Democrats, could be an exception. There could be a delay, however. According to the arcane rules of a discharge petition, Mr. Massey and Mr. Khanna cannot start collecting signatures for 7 legislative days. With the House scheduled to begin its summer recess on July 25th, that would not leave enough time for action until after the House returns from its August recess, a lifetime in politics. So listen, kids, I hate to tell you this, nothing's going to come of this. Given that they're about to go on recess, maybe they'll get the vote, but it does not obligate the Department of Justice to release those files. It's the equivalent of Congress wrote a strongly worded letter. Clearly, they are not going to release those files. And whether by the time you get to Congress coming back in session, you can even continue to hold those votes together, is an open question as well. Will the MAGA base and the commentariat, many of whose bread and butter relies on holding this disparate coalition, loosely dubbed MAGA, together? Are they going to keep pushing the Epstein files, as week after week, month after month, Trump dangles the shiny object of, brown people being eaten by alligators to distract them? Probably not. I'll be surprised if really the people who are howling about this now are still howling about it in 2 months. I honestly think it's more likely that the rank and file MAGA voters will still be howling about it because they don't have a financial interest in not talking about it anymore.
Well, yeah, and that's why, it really does fall to us to just keep on this and troll the shit out of all these people on X whenever they try and distract you with something else about, the Doge cuts, they finalized the Doge cuts, $9 billion worth of Doge cuts. Remind them of this. You have to use this issue to undermine the entire movement. That's what I've been saying since this whole fiasco took off. As for the vote in Congress, ultimately the bottom line is that these files are going to come out if and when the president and his team feel like they either want to or have to put them out in order to save some sort of political face. They're not going to be compelled to do it for any other reason. The ball is in their court. As what was the guy say? What did Charlie Kirk say? The ball is in his hand. The balls are in his hands. My balls are in his hands. That's what he meant to say. My balls are in his hands. Yeah.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah, Freudian slip there, exactly. Yeah, so that's the deal with that. Now, I do think there is still a lot of efficacy in forcing Republicans to vote yes or no on it, forcing them to take some sort of position.
They should take the vote. I'm just saying it's not going to
yes.
force them to release the files.
No, this is a major opportunity, even more than the Iran strikes, to really drive a wedge through the MAGA coalition on every level, on the level of these House members and perhaps senators if it gets there, MAGA media, and the rank and file. They're going to have to make a choice. We're already seeing a lot of people jump ship over it, and we just got to keep pushing and keep hammering this issue, because this is definitely a soft spot. And Donald Trump is just, I like I said on the Jimmy Dore show last night, this is such a juvenile reaction. Tantruming about it over and over again is not going to get people to stop talking about it. It's going to do the exact opposite. Why are you calling into some weird TV show no one's ever heard of and bitching about the Epstein files? Do you really think that's going to do? You really think that's going to make it go away?
That anchor.
Yeah,
I know that anchor. He sucked my dick in a urinal once. I knew he would say anything I told him to.
Yeah. Do you really think that's going to make the story go away? Or do you think it's going to do the exact opposite? You'd think a TV man, you'd think a guy who knows a thing or two about media and ratings and audiences would understand that the more you feed this, the more people are going to keep talking about it. It's just unbelievable that he cannot stop crashing out over this. I mean, with Russiagate, you can kind of understand because he was under siege, right? It wasn't him driving the story. It was the media driving the story, and he felt the need to push back. Okay, fine. In this case, you're the one driving the story. First of all, it was your DOJ and FBI that put out the memo. None of this would have happened if they hadn't sent that memo. And then it's you repeatedly insisting at this point that it's all a hoax akin to Russiagate. That's what's driving the conversation. That's what's making it impossible for anybody to let this go.
Yes, but as we will see in the next segment, when you have a long history of making sick, perverted statements about your daughter, and you're still able to convince people that you're the champion of morality, fighting against a worldwide network of satanic fans of the playground, you have some cause to believe that you could tell your supporters anything. Yep. And they'll accept it because you've done it quite successfully for a very long time.
That is a fair point, for sure. All right, we're going to go into the second part of this in just a minute. Let's take some Rumble rants and some super chats. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Up to now 1,200 strong in the YouTube chat, 530 over on Rumble. Let's juice that like count here, 307 likes. Let's get that up over 666 by the end of this next segment, shall we? Smash that like button, please, and thank you. Dedamod says, Russ, is this our conflict of orders moment? The patricians versus the plebeians playing out on the internet. Thank you.
You know, as we were just discussing, I will be surprised if they're really able to continue the momentum. But yeah, I think that rank and file people are more likely to hold on to it than people with a platform are.
Yes, I think that's probably true. Hey, dirtbags, I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to The Hague. There you go, Killer Hidden. Thank you. Good one. Gina and Heidi says Biden made a gay dwarf idiot of color his press secretary. Trump made a gay dwarf idiot of color his secretary of state. Thank you, Gina and Heidi. See, they both embrace diversity. Abiding 71. Trust the process. That. Yes. 5D gambits take time. Our orange messiah will deliver us. Thank you, RB. Appreciate that very much. All right, let's go over to YouTube here. Brad Gilbert says, Trump, tell us you're a Trojan horse without saying it. Thank you. The Missing Touch says, just wanted to thank you guys for helping me be more anti-capitalist and pro-immigrant after being raised conservative. God bless you.
Oh, both. Wow.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you to say. Appreciate that. Brad Gilbert says, Dems, prove our hoax. GOP, Trump, Bugs Bunny. No. Thank you, Brad Gilbert. Matt V, thanks to the $5. Trump not being able to shut up about this is full evidence of his manic desperation. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's just the most obvious thing in the world to everyone but him. You know, Van Jones was saying on a CNN clip that I just watched, he said, you know, I actually defended Trump when people would accuse him of being on or in the Epstein files. But he said there really is no other way to explain this crazy behavior. Like, it's making me rethink that, because why else would he be acting this way? The Polymarket odds now 99% that he's in the files. And that's Polymarket. That demographic skews right for sure. Yeah. All right, let's move right on to part B.
All right, so you might remember a very different Donald J. Trump talking about who was in the Epstein files and what they might reveal.
Do you really think the Clintons are involved in Jeffrey Epstein's death? I have no idea. I know he was on his plane 27 times, and he said he was on the plane 4 times. But when they checked the plane log, Bill Clinton, who was a very good friend of Epstein, he was on the plane about 27 or 28 times. So why did he say 4 times? And then the question you have to ask is, did Bill Clinton go to the island? Because Epstein had an island that was not a good place, as I understand it, and I was never there. So you have to ask, did Bill Clinton go to the island? That's the question. If you find that out, you're going to know a lot. Thank you very much.
If you find that out, you're going to know a lot. You know, one way we could find that out would be if he released the files. sounding a lot different about that now. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier. And what really got a lot of his own people upset is his declaration that he doesn't really want them in his coalition anymore. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters who have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker, they haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. If by success you mean shredding what little is left of the social safety net. That's my editor's contribution there. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. I mean, this is really Roman emperor level of demanding complete supplication and debasement from your followers. You know, this is Caligula demanding the senators stock a brothel with their wives in order to balance the Roman budget. This is, I am going to tell you the sky is green, and if you say the sky is blue, you are cast out. Afuera!
You're out.
Afuera. You're out of the movement. So he was asked about this by a reporter in the Oval Office, and he doubled and tripled down as he has been doing.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Stupid people. You just saw the clip, and I'm sure, unless you've been in a cave, you've seen a million clips like it of Donald Trump talking about how the Epstein files will expose all of these perverts in the deep state that he's fighting against. But now, if you believed him, you're an idiot. He doesn't want you anymore.
It's the wrong tone.
And the guy who said I was the best president, a lot of people are mentioning he had one of those helmets on for brain damaged people, but I think that's beside the point. I think that's very ableist. It's very ableist to point out that he has brain damage. So, hey, the Babylon Bee did not do their stock and trade. They did not deflect to Democrats' embrace of trans people and immigrants. They actually took this head on. Man who vowed to release Epstein files berates idiots for believing there are Epstein files. When you've lost the Babylon Bee, when the Babylon Bee does not deflect to trans people in the bathroom or make some joke of that guy in order to protect Trump, you've really lost the base, man. You have really lost the plot.
Well, they realize there's too much money on the table now. We can't not do an Epstein story.
Of course. Riley Gaines, who's grifting off her own pregnancy to suck up some of that sweet pro-life money. Was it stupid and foolish when he campaigned on releasing the files? Are Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Alina Habba all foolish and stupid for peddling this for the past 6 months? Why on earth is he doing this? You know, she's not really a profile in courage as a rule. When you got Riley Gaines making that kind of statement, she'd only make that statement if she feels like it's safe to make it.
Well, she should go to the island herself and investigate. Oh, wait, she can't. She doesn't swim well enough. Sorry. If it floods, it could be dangerous. So, yeah,
maybe they
slow.
should send Leah Thomas.
Yeah, she swims too slow. That's right. Never mind. Could be dangerous. We don't want her. We don't want anything to happen. She's got a baby coming.
Got a baby coming.
Gotta stay safe.
Baby needs a mother.
Right. Gotta stay safe.
So here's Nick Fuentes, who, whatever else you might say about him, could really give a fuck. And he went pretty hard at the Trumpster here.
It's not just him. We've all been in the fight for 10 years. We've all had our share of the suffering in one way or another. With our families, with our jobs, with our colleges, with social media, with our businesses, with the government. How many people have caught charges and for one reason or another, or had other issues? And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. Fuck you. Fuck you. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are.
That was pretty good.
You suck.
So fuck you.
Fuck you. You suck.
And he fat shamed him too.
That should be on our soundboard. Fuck you. You suck.
Let's do it. All right. That's a job for Gen X girl.
Yeah.
So Megyn Kelly, which is what's going to happen with a lot of these people. She's really been trying to have it both ways. Yeah, he's probably in the Epstein files, but there's no way he's in the Epstein files. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
In the Epstein files, insofar as he was friends with Epstein for 15 years, he knew Epstein. And there are people who hate Trump who probably threw some scurrilous allegations in there, but nobody believes Trump had an affinity for the underage girl. That's just such bullshit. You know, maybe he was at some Epstein party. Trump says he never went to Epstein Island, and I believe that too. That would be something to extraordinarily lie about.
So that's really trying to have it both ways, right? Yeah, he's in the files, but he's not really in the files. So that's a pretty remarkable contention that nobody believes that Donald Trump was with underage girls. At least one anonymous person who filed suit against him believes it because she claims to have been a victim of it. Your reminder that Katie Johnson, that's a pseudonym, sued Trump for allegedly assaulting her when she was 13 at Jeffrey Epstein's New York home, but was forced to drop the case after receiving multiple death threats. And we showed this the other day, but it's worth revisiting in light of that statement. The Lincoln Project made this, but hey, you know, give the devil their due. They did a pretty good job. All these clips are authentic. A lot of people have probably seen them already. You watch this and you tell me that it's hard to imagine that Donald Trump, who we have copious amounts of video of him hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein didn't have a penchant for underage girls.
Beautiful baby, and she's got more or less legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time.
He's talking about his daughter. He's talking about Tiffany Trump here.
Will tell.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that part. Although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know? I'll go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good. You're there. Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Really, nobody believes that there's anything incriminating about Donald Trump in those files. Megyn Kelly's very smart. She's a very smart woman. She's a lawyer. She knows exactly what she's doing. Well, I'm going to have a really hard time towing the nothing to see here line, but I don't want to lose all my fanatical Trump supporters in my audience, so I'm going to have it both ways. He's in the files, but he's not in the files. Now, Alex Jones, he also won't go right at Trump, but he took some offense at the idea that anyone who wants to see these files is excommunicated.
About this, I'm going to excommunicate you. Well, you're not the Pope, bro. I mean, you're not speaking from the throne ex cathedra. And plus, I'm not Catholic. So, I think of Catholics, it's just, give me a break.
Could you imagine Alex Jones?
Anyone who disagrees with anything I say is banished. And I'm not saying Trump land is a cult. The Democrats are the cult of hating reason and logic and common sense. But
the video we just showed you, all those clips were out there for years and even decades. And a bunch of people decided that this fucking piece of shit who talks that way about his own children, unquestionably, it's not a conspiracy theory. The video's right there. Everybody's seen it. They decided that this guy was their champion against the deep state. You're saying the Democrats are more cultish than that? You could find literally hundreds and probably thousands of hours of us going after the Democrats in that way. I take no exception to that contention, but more so than people that thought this guy was not a sick pervert who was probably in on it with Epstein. You have more evidence that Donald Trump was involved in things he should not have been with Epstein than pretty much any other prominent political figure other than Bill Clinton. Like you've got at least as much evidence against Donald Trump as against Bill Clinton. So why wasn't it a problem with Trump? That's not cultish. That's not as cultish as the Democrats. They're both cults.
When Trump starts behaving like that, it starts getting into cult territory. And I bet, since I talked in the first hour and said I'm not in this cult, if that's what it's turning into, I bet there's already news articles about it. But I went on to say Trump is not a cult yet, but behavior like this starts going down that road. But I guarantee if it's not out now, it'll be out in the next hour. And it'll be, Jones says he's left the Trump cult. Nope, never was in the cult. Not saying it's a cult, but this is starting to become cult-like language.
Oh, yeah. Good observation.
It started to become cult-like. It wasn't cult-like when there was all this video out there of him talking about how he wanted to bang his own daughter or anything. And all the Christians fell in line behind that sick motherfucker. That wasn't a cult. Now it's a cult.
This is the issue with this, because we heard throughout the 2016 campaign about Donald Trump's sort of moral failings as a person, but how, it was important that people sort of look past those to view him as an instrument, a blunt instrument to wield against the deep state.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
very much in the way like, Martin Luther King had sex with a lot of prostitutes, right? Now, I personally don't consider that a great moral failing. What consenting adults do is fine. But whatever, there are people who have a big problem with that, but they feel like, all right, despite that, he was a great leader.
People
for
who have a problem
justice,
with that
right?
are people who don't travel a lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. But in that case, the sort of moral failings of the individual can be pretty easily separated from the political mission.
Right.
The problem with the Epstein case is that those things collide.
That's
because your
core.
moral failings
Exactly.
as a person now collide with the political mission, which is to expose the deep state.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
it's not as easy to sort out as it would be in other cases. For example, yes, he's a sexist pig, but he's promising to end the wars. Right. You could have those exist in two separate worlds. It's neat. They never collide. Those two things come together.
Right. And when literally your core origin story of your whole movement is kind of built around the premise that there are these satanic globalist fans of the playground elites, and you have a history of a trust fund baby billionaire talking that way about children, well, maybe not the best avatar to send to fight the final boss.
Right.
So Tim Pool here, he can see which way the wind is blowing. Although still a pretty timid statement. Trump is trying to nuke his base in response to his long rant about how he doesn't need his base anymore. Now, here's where you could see the real grifters, man, the real bottom feeders. James Lindsay, Zionist extraordinaire. Trump is drawing a line away from the woke right, who has already turned on him and will only be his base extortatively. Never even heard that word. So, you mean they actually expect him to do things?
Right.
Is that what you mean? They're voters who expect the people they elect to do what they promise? Is that what you mean by
You should only be anyone's base extortatively.
Extortatively.
Yeah.
Is that a word? But it's really not working, man. You look at the responses, they are not having it, and he knows it. There's nothing woke right about demanding answers on this subject. And Lindsay says, I know, but it's still what he's doing. The woke right barely care about the issue. They have a weapon to hurt Trump. Somebody else responds, voted Trump 3 times, and this is one of my issues. They screamed about it during the campaign, and now we're bad people because we want the pedo elite to be held accountable. No one said you're a bad person. Calm down. Please don't unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe. I've got books to sell. Don't unsubscribe.
I just looked it up. You're a founding member on Substack for $200 a year. Please don't cancel.
Please don't cancel, yes. Bridget Fatassi, who, see, this is part of why, and this is true no matter what ideology. It's not just the right. Really talentless people are very attracted to these kind of cultish grifts because it's the only place they can get paid. She did stand up at the douchebag dialogues, and she was terrible. Like, if she had to actually go out and be talented and funny, she wouldn't make 5 cents.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
But these dipshits, it's not easy for them to find people who claim to be comedians who want to work for them.
Right.
So bottom feeder. Right. Everywhere I go,
hey, can you come here and do
life,
10 minutes on the Uyghur genocide? You got a 10
well,
minutes
that's pretty
on
much
that?
what she did. She literally went up at the douchebag dialogues and made jokes about Palestinians in Gaza.
Oh,
literally.
Wow.
And got laughs for it too.
Wow.
Wow. For people who are suffering from a genocide, I've never seen so many TV cameras.
No, really. That
was literally one of her jokes.
Wow.
Everywhere I go in real life, I'm asking Trump voters I know how much they care about Epstein, and one quote really stood out. Quote, people who talk for a living are overestimating how much people who don't talk for a living care about this. Beware the bubbles. So this is a tactic that they're pulling, and not surprisingly, maybe the biggest whore in that particular sub niche around right now, Batya Unger Sargon, jumped right on that. This has been my experience too. No one I know who voted for Trump who doesn't make money off content cares about Jeffrey Epstein. This is a variation on her shtick,
Right.
that everything that I'm trying to deflect attention from is something only elites care about.
The working class doesn't care about the pedal rigs. The working class, they just want to pick blueberries for $28 an hour. That's all they want. That's all they want.
Poor people don't care about Medicaid.
They want to go pick fruit for
talk about Medicaid. No, dude, listen, man. I do think. I mean, she would never get into this kind of. She would never get into it in this nuanced way. Having grown up in a blue collar area, I will tell you, anti-Semitic comments are a pretty regular thing. Yeah, he Jewed me down, that kind of thing.
Right.
She literally, I happened to catch this on a TV that was on in the background. I heard her shrieking voice, and I went over to see what she was saying on Fox. She literally made the claim that working class people are protective of Jews, and that anti-Semitism is an elite phenomenon. That's just on autopilot. Anything that you throw at her, this is only elites.
Yeah, only elites care about
only
this,
elites think that. Only elites care about that.
Working class people just want to pick their fruit.
That's it. They just want factory work.
That's it. They
just want factory work. That's why
strawberries and
all those
DoorDash.
factory workers made sure to send their kids to college and put them in middle management because they thought it was so great working in factories.
Yeah.
Isn't that the American dream, to have your kid work in a factory? Yeah, no, that's what we've always dreamed of. So not surprising, but again, people are not having it. I would say, she's almost on the right track. I would say the only people who are trying to pretend this is not a big deal are people who make money off content. Because every time they try to do it, the actual people who follow them aren't having it.
Right.
I care, and I'm a nobody who doesn't make money off content. I'm also original MAGA. I'm an OG MAGA pre-2016. Somebody else here. Really? Nobody wants to know what criminal conspiracy has been going on for half a century. Yikes. Who are your friends?
Yeah.
Kind of threw it right back at her. Good for him. And to this point, Polling USA, do you think the government is covering up evidence it has about Epstein? Yes, 67%. No, 8%. Now, to be fair, that doesn't prove that people care about it, but certainly proves people think there's something there to be revealed. They don't think it's a nothing burger. Matt Walsh. The administration invited influencers to the White House, handed them binders that said Epstein Files Phase 1, and staged a photo op outside with the binders. Now Trump calls the whole thing a dumb hoax. There is just no way for an honest person to look at this set of facts and come away with the conclusion that the administration is in the right on this issue. Now, here's a rare case where one of the plebs took the administration side of one of these conversations. What a straw man if there ever was one. As you know, Matt, the Epstein drama is overblown nonsense. You just like the engagement and news it drives. Epstein abused children. Epstein is dead. That's the story. All the while, Trump saves real children every day. How exactly is he doing that? I would love an answer to that. Respect him. Respect him. Respect my authority.
Yes.
He said Trump should give this guy a job as a speechwriter.
Yes.
So Walsh responds to this. Nobody was calling the Epstein story overblown nonsense up until 2 weeks ago. You're saying it now simply because the people in power have told you to say it. This makes you a mindless drone and a coward. Now, I've said this a lot about Matt Walsh. I think a lot of his takes are moronic. I think some of his takes are correct. it does seem like he is a true believer. He is a crusader, right? He sees himself as a crusader. That kind of person is not going to back off, particularly given that he's made the protection of children kind of core to his activism, to the way he uses his platform. He can't back down on something like this, and I don't think he wants to. And of course, Elon weighed in. The old 1, admit nothing. 2, deny everything. 3, make counterclaims, but it won't work this time. That remains to be seen. And where is phase 2? Yeah, I mean, it's very weird that you got in office, and if the Democrats altered everything, why did you do this whole thing with the files? Why did you do that? If you came in and you found, oh my God, the Democrats rifled through this and somehow forgot to release it when they had the power to do so after doctoring it. They doctored it and left it for us to release.
Yeah. No,
Don't
they
think
doctored
too
it
hard
to frame
about it.
Trump, and then
they forgot to frame
they sat
it.
on it.
They sat on it. And finally, Ann Coulter. We want the photos of powerful men in flagrante with underage girls. Blur the girls, show the men's faces in full living color. Now, to be fair, according to the reports, the FBI warrant was very limited in its scope and did not include the videos and pictures that were supposedly in this safe. And when they came back, that stuff was gone. So they legitimately might not have that based on that reporting, but release what you have. Release what you have. I don't think anybody would argue if they released what they had and said, yeah, listen, somebody took that stuff. It never got to us. People would say, well, then the attention would really be on finding out who took it.
Go find it. Right.
Go
they
find
didn't destroy it because they can't destroy it. If it's blackmail, they have to keep it intact. So they can't just torch it. Right. They need it. Otherwise, there's no blackmail if they don't have it. So it's somewhere. Go fucking find it then. Right. That would be no, there are so many ways they could have dealt with. This is why I posited a theory on the Jimmy Dore show last night that maybe this was the DOJ's attempt to sink Trump by releasing this ridiculous memo that they knew would divide the movement. They knew it would, cause this major crashing out by Trump himself, because all they have to do is say, look, there's a lot of stuff. We're working on it. We'll get to you when it's done. They could have just kept kicking the can down the road. What they could have said is like, look, what their claim here is that we can't just release everything because there is quite possibly, or probably, almost certainly, people who are mentioned in these files who did not partake in illicit or illegal activities with Epstein. So in that case, what they would have to do is you would have to basically subpoena everybody who comes up in the files, ask them, what did you see? What did you do? Did you see anybody else do anything? Whoever they name, you bring them in to testify, right? You do a pretty comprehensive investigation, which, yes, would take a long time. If they tell the people, that's what we're doing, we're going through these files, we can't just release it haphazardly because, people could have their reputations destroyed wrongfully if they were mentioned in the files, but they didn't do anything wrong with Epstein. So we have to check all of these things out against each other and bring people in and get them to testify and weigh that testimony against other people's testimony. Like, we're doing a thorough job. It's going to take a long time, but that's what we have to do. I think people would buy that. I think that would work. I think people would understand that. Instead, they handled it in a way that was certain to cause this major rift within the movement. It's just, if they didn't do it to sabotage them, then it's the biggest political self-own in the modern era, I would say.
I mean, that is where I will say, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but given that this is such an administration of narcissistic crackpots and weirdos, it is possible that, look, this is a cover-up. So you start from there. Okay, it's a cover-up. Could these people have been so cocky, so arrogant, so disdainful of the peasants, which drips from Trump's statement here about they're stupid and he hates you. We've always said that.
Right.
He hates you. Wait, Donald Trump likes the people who support him. He likes the soapy hand job when he's up in front of an arena and they're all jacking him off. He likes that power, but he doesn't actually like the people giving him that power. That's what's become very clear, and that is part of what's so damaging about this. Could these people be so fucking arrogant that they were just like, look, we're never releasing this shit, so why don't we rip off the Band-Aid and move on? And they just drastically miscalculated in their arrogance? That's possible, too.
Certainly is. Certainly is. We're at 2003 in the YouTube chat. We've come a long way in the like column, but not quite to 666. We're at 644. Let's get over 666, please, so we can smash that headbang button. All right. We got RB Ham says, must watch. Chris Hedge has interviewed Nick Bryan on YouTube, re the Epstein case. It's one big club, folks. Basically, almost everyone is compromised, and the truth will never be publicly acknowledged. It's funny. Someone else in the YouTube chat recommended that as well. So thanks, RB. Appreciate that. By the way, RB's hosting Jimmy Dore on his show on Tuesday night. We'll give you the exact details as that date approaches, but that's a good catch, RB. Congrats. Nocturnal Human, I know most people remember this, but just a reminder, remember during the assassination of Trump, the Secret Service broke into that business across the street and deleted the security. Interesting. I had not heard that development. Eric Cousseau, you'll think differently when they start the pay-per-view alligator games. I hear there will be fantasy immigrant drafts as well. Thank you. Hillary Hinton says, intro by M83 played over the season 3 finale of Mr. Robot is perfect enough to make me not totally despise the entire human race. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Hillary Hinton.
Mr. Robot was great.
Sunny D Beat says, don't often get to catch the show in real time, but pretty sweet to do it on the day of the best show you guys have ever done. Free Palestine. Thank you, Sunny D Beat. Appreciate
how that worked out, man.
Very much. I actually agree with Trump, says China Shill. If you believed him for even a second, you are what in the business is called a mark. There you go. Thanks, China Shill. Matt V, thanks for the $5 over on YouTube, says Trump not being able to shut up about this is fully evidence of his manic desperation. Thanks. I got that one earlier. Sorry. Skyman says, how could Trump, the real estate mogul, casino-owning television show having Clinton wedding appearing elite, betray the country for the elites? Yes, good question. Texas Grown, thanks for the $10, says, cannot wait until you cover the witch of Israel, as the Arabs call her. She is a nutty nut. She really does look like the Hansel and Gretel witch. Absolutely. Daniela Weiss.
And she has this malevolent glare.
Yeah.
Whenever you see her in an interview.
She
like,
looks
very
legitimately possessed. Yes, she looks legitimately possessed. Like, that's not even a joke. IHLS, we love you. Keep exposing the truth and educate. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that. P. Walker, thanks for the $5. So Trump has basically admitted he was bamboozled by a Democrat hoax. Reporters should ask him why he went so long with it. Yes, good point there. Appreciate that. Musa, sorry, what's your full screen name there? Musa Al-Ghanim, thanks for the $49.99. Appreciate that. Let's get a cowbell for Musa. Thank you, Musa. Appreciate that very much. Says, our Arab leaders are kissing Trump's rear end. Your buddy from Kuwait. Thanks for all you dynamic duo. Well, thank you very much for that. That is very kind of you. Appreciate that. And yes, greetings from Kuwait. Wow, a global audience for sure. That's awesome. All right, we are going to move right on along here. All right, folks, we're going to talk about the Hague Summit in Bogota, Colombia. Now, this segment makes a little bit of due dissidence history. This is the first segment that we're showing you that was produced by the newest member of the team, Gen X Girl, who did the prep for this segment. So round of applause for Gen X Girl in the chat. You're going to see some of her work on display in this piece. But yes, the Hague Group convenes from across the world to an emergency conference to halt the genocide in Gaza. The Republic of Colombia, as co-chair of the Hague Group, will host an emergency ministerial meeting on Palestine at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Bogota on the July 15th to 16th, 2025. The emergency meeting has been convened in response to Israel's ongoing and escalating violations of international law in the occupied Palestinian territory, including the crime of genocide, and will focus on coordinated legal and diplomatic measures to bring them to an end. Convening states from both across and beyond the founding membership of the Hague Group, the emergency meeting will center the legal obligations of states as determined by the advisory opinion of the ICJ of July 2024 to stop all actions that assist the maintenance of the illegal situation created by Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, and to support the full realization of the Palestinian people's inalienable right to self-determination. In Bogota, states will announce concrete actions to enforce international law through coordinated state action to end the genocide and ensure justice and accountability. So this is the Hague Group Summit. This is the graphic, once again, by Gen X Girl, so thank you for that.
She made that?
Yes, absolutely. So these are the nations that participated: Algeria, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Botswana, Brazil, Chile, China, Cuba, Colombia as co-chair, Djibouti, sorry, I couldn't read that, Honduras, Indonesia, Iraq, Ireland, Lebanon, Libya, Malaysia, Mexico, Namibia, Nicaragua, Norway, Oman, Pakistan, the state of Palestine, of course, Portugal, Qatar, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Senegal, Slovenia, South Africa as co-chair, Spain, Turkey, Uruguay, and Venezuela. This is what I like to call the civilized world. The countries on this list, that's the civilized world. That's the actual first world. So here's a poster for the event, noting some key attendees. Francesca Albanese, of course, Jeremy Corbyn was there as well, Rima Hassan. Also, here is a video that is a little summation that they put out of the event. This was published July 16th at 9 a.m., so we'll get a little trailer cut, if you will, of the proceedings at the inaugural, or at the Hague Summit, rather.
The rise of a new multilateralism, principled, courageous, increasingly led by the global majority. And I'm glad many of these countries are here.
On the 15th of July, in the heart of Bogota, Colombia, 30 states came together, united by a single purpose: to end Israel's impunity and uphold international law.
This conference and others that will follow are ushering the beginning of a new stage in the struggle of the Palestinian people. Our meeting today is a rare demonstration of political courage.
Palestina no está sola. Que esta reunión marque el inicio de una acción conjunta, firme y transformadora.
Imagine if your child was one of the 10 children that was killed queuing for water in Deir el-Balah a few days ago. Would you accept the excuse that it was a technical error?
The occupied Palestinian territory today is a hellscape. In Gaza, Israel has dismantled even the last UN function, humanitarian aid, in order to deliberate, starve, displace time and time again, or kill a population they have marked for elimination.
The impunity continues unabated. We are legally obligated not to condone internationally wrongful acts of the government of Israel.
Throughout the day, state representatives debated concrete collective actions they can take to end the genocide of the Palestinians.
The law is already clear. It's not legal clarity that is lacking, but only courage. There are moments in history that I believe mark a before and after in their wake, and I believe that today's meeting and this conference in Bogota is one such moment.
It's not just about Palestine. This is about all of us. Millions are watching, hoping for leadership that can birth a new global order rooted in justice, humanity, and collective liberation.
There you have it. So obviously, an outstanding idea and very well executed by all measures, it seems. In Colombia, the Hague Group charges Israel with genocide. This is a report from Dropsite News. On Tuesday, ministers and officials from over 30 countries, gathered in Bogota, Colombia to convene the Hague Group, an international organization co-chaired by the governments of Colombia and South Africa. The two-day conference will discuss steps forward for the international community to stop Israel's ongoing genocide of Palestinians. The gathering comes amid heightened aggression from the U.S. government against the emergency conference, and one of its lead speakers, Special UN Rapporteur for the West Bank and Gaza, Francesca Albanese, as Israel continues to sabotage negotiations between Israel and Hamas. The Bogota conference will go down as the moment in history that states finally stood up to do the right thing, Albanese had said in the lead up to the conference. She called the formation of the Hague Group the most significant political development of the last 20 months. And here she is talking a little bit about what got her sanctioned by Marco Rubio and the U.S., which is the insistence that states, particularly members of this newly formed Hague Group, band together and apply economic pressure on not only Israel itself, but on each other to divest from Israel in order to try and force an end to their genocidal conduct. So here she is talking about some of that at the conference.
Here is to recommend to you uncompromisingly and dispassionately the cure for the root cause. We are long past the time to deal with the symptoms and the comfort zone of too many these days. And my words will show that what the Hague Group has committed to do and considering expanding upon is the basic commitment to what's just and due based on your obligations under international law. Obligations. Not sympathy, not charity. Each state must immediately review and suspend all ties with the state of Israel. Military, strategic, political, diplomatic, economic relations, both imports and exports, and to make sure that their private sectors, insurers, banks, pension funds, universities, and other goods and service providers in the supply chain do the same.
There you go. Like I said, it's that got her sanctioned in the first place. In an official statement to DropSite, the U.S. State Department said it had strongly opposed the Hague Group's meeting in Colombia. Once again, the civilized world versus the uncivilized world, right? This really exposes that conflict. The United States strongly opposes efforts by so-called multilateral blocs to weaponize international law. Just think of that Orwellian phrase, weaponize international law, as a tool to advance radical anti-Western agendas, a State Department official said. The so-called Hague Group, whose leading voices are South Africa and Cuba, authoritarian and communist regimes, respectively, with deeply troubling human rights records, seeks to undermine the sovereignty of democratic nations by isolating and attempting to delegitimize, I'm assuming that was a typo there, Israel, transparently laying the groundwork for targeting the United States, our military, and our allies. Anne L. Shalin, a former foreign affairs officer at the State Department who resigned in March 2024, remember we covered that, over the slaughter in Gaza, is attending the week's proceedings in response to the attempt by the U.S. State Department to bully participating countries at the emergency meeting of the Hague Group, she told DropSite. These are sovereign states who have every right to uphold their obligations as UN members, including under the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. She added, this is not the weaponization of international law. This is, of course, the application of international law. So states announced, this was the result of the meeting, states announced unprecedented measures to halt the Gaza genocide at the Bogota conference. So these were their proclamations. Prevent the provision or transfer of arms, munitions, military fuel, related military equipment, and dual-use items to Israel. Prevent the transit, docking, and servicing of vessels at any port in all cases where there is a clear risk of the vessel being used to carry arms, munitions, military fuel, related military equipment, and dual-use items to Israel. Prevent the carriage of arms, munitions, military fuel, related military equipment, and dual-use items to Israel on vessels bearing our flag, and ensure full accountability, including deflagging for non-compliance with this prohibition. Commence an urgent review of all public contracts to prevent public institutions and funds from supporting Israel's illegal occupation of the Palestinian territory and entrenching its unlawful presence. comply with obligations to ensure accountability for the most serious crimes under international law through robust, impartial, and independent investigations and prosecutions at national or international levels to ensure justice for all victims and the prevention of future crimes. Support universal jurisdiction mandates as and where applicable in national legal frameworks and judiciaries to ensure justice for victims of international crimes committed in the occupied Palestinian territory. Notice what's not on that list is carpet bombing children and women, right? Notice that these are not like military proclamations. These are legal and diplomatic measures that require international coordination and solidarity, which is why I think that this conference was so important. So Abby Martin was at the conference, and she clipped this piece of video from Gustavo Petro, who is the Colombian president, co-chair of the conference, and hosted it in his country. Of course, we will take a look at some of this. This is the part that was subtitled accurately by our AI subtitler. The rest of it was not, but they got this part.
Y Gaza es simplemente un experimento de los mega ricos tratando de demostrarle a todos los pueblos del mundo cómo se le responde a una rebeldía de la humanidad. Piensan bombardearnos a todos.
Pretty chilling, powerful stuff there. Jeremy Corbyn tweets out, I am proud to be in Bogota, Colombia for the emergency conference to halt the Gaza genocide. This is historic. 32 states are taking concrete action to stand up for the Palestinian people. The spirit of humanity is alive. It's here, and it yearns for justice. So this is obviously a wonderful thing, and it is a completely necessary thing. We've been saying for years now, the world must organize against Israel to be able to essentially form an economic force that can decentivize people from dealing with this state. And that is how Israel will eventually be brought to its knees. They have a Samson option. They have nuclear weapons. You see what they're doing to their neighbors, right? They will lash out violently, right? And so the way to do this, the way to bring the civilized world together, because that is what this is. The countries on this list represent the forces of civilization, as opposed to the forces of barbarism, which are the forces of Israel, the United States, and their Western allies. This is civilization. Yes, exactly. That is exactly what this is. This is very plainly civilization versus barbarism. This is the forces of people who think it is, understand, not think, understand it is their responsibility to organize politically, economically, and diplomatically against a rogue terrorist state who fights their battles by bombing and starving children and families. The lines could not be any more clear, and this makes it all the more clear for the world. And that this is what it's going to take. It's going to take political, economic, and diplomatic pressure, sustained and organized and coordinated. And it's going to require solidarity, and it's going to require discipline. And so God bless everyone there. God bless Colombia and South Africa for putting this together. I do think this is a very significant step, because essentially you need a UN body that has some teeth, right? You need a UN body that is veto-proof from the United States. You need just countries to come together behind certain goals, stick together in pursuit of those goals, and make it happen. And I hope they can. And I think eventually they will. And eventually that list is going to get bigger, and the forces of barbarism are going to get smaller. Because as we'll see in upcoming segments, you can't put someone on like Daniela Weiss on TV and convince the normal people of the world that she is anything but pure evil. And that's why I think ultimately this is the way. This is the way.
Yeah, we've been anticipating this for a long time, that in the end, the horrors that Israel is committing are just too barbaric for them to be able to use the Holocaust as a shield any longer from responsibility for their actions. They lit that card on fire, and they can no longer use it with normal people, I think. They have remarkably evaporated all of the goodwill and sympathy of the world, stemming from the crimes that the Nazis committed. They've been using that for 76 years to keep the world's attention away from the real nature of the state that they formed in the name of the Holocaust, claiming that's the name of the Jews, that they represented all Jewish people, which of course they never did. But in the end, you cannot force people to continue to pretend that there's not a really paradigm destroying hypocrisy in supporting a state like this while claiming to represent human rights and better values than the rest of the world. I think for a lot of us who have grown up in the West, it's really difficult. Like, even if you're on the left, like legitimately on the left, not Democrat left, even if you're on the left, like, yo, man, you've spent your whole life having your brain pickled in that propaganda that the West has values, that the West represents values, and that the world outside the West is less than, that they're barbaric, that they're backwards, that they don't have the same traditions of human rights, they don't have the same traditions of freedom of speech, that they repress their people in ways that in the West you could never get away with. This has just lit all that on fire, man. They just arrested 70 people in England for protesting for Gaza. They made Palestine Action a proscribed terror group for spray painting a plane. You have Richard Medhurst still facing conviction. This whole premise that the West, well, whatever problems we might have, you have rights here you wouldn't have someplace else. Well, that's gone now. You can't make that claim anymore. Look what we've done, not to put it all on England. Look what we're doing here with deporting visa holders, talking about denaturalizing people, all in the interest of defending this settler colonial project. They just adopted the IHRA standards of anti-Semitism, which make basically any kind of speaking out against Israel anti-Semitic. At Colombia, at Harvard, these elite liberal institutions, they fell to their knees at the slightest threat to their grant money. And it's even more disgusting because if any institutions have enough money and investment to weather the loss of federal money, it's them. And rather than to forego that money, they decided to destroy their reputation. So at that point, when you're going to say, well, China, you can't say this, you can't say that, well, I mean, that doesn't really land the way that it did. And this is also, as with so many things, it's a generational fight. If you look at what happened in New York, you look at how young people drove this nomination of Mamdani, you give people the opportunity to express themselves through voting or through purchasing power. The media can do whatever it wants. You can't make people buy shit that they consider toxic because of where it comes from. This is why they're so intent on suppressing the BDS movement, because they know how deadly that is for their cause. And in the end, you can't force people to watch someone like Daniela Weiss and say, well, she's got a point. You can't force people not to see evil when they're seeing it. It's horrific because literally every single day, more Palestinian people are being killed. And the iceberg of changing this momentum, of changing the narrative, drifts so slowly. There is no doubt in my mind that Israel is finished as a state, whether it's as an apartheid state, whether it's next year or the year after that, there is no doubt in my mind. But how many Palestinians are going to die before we finally see the regime there collapse?
Well, yeah, and that's why, to bring an end to this as quickly as possible, you need to organize things like this as quickly as you possibly can. What Petro said there about this being a rebellion of humanity, right? The rebellion
the fact
of
that
humanity.
they've got China and Brazil, that's very good. Those are large economies that will really hurt Israel. That's what's really important.
Yeah, well, the
That's
rebellion,
not just token.
right? So the rebellion of humanity is the political and diplomatic and economic struggle against Israel. And yes, the fact that you have China there, you know when China last fought a war? The 70s. China hasn't fought a war in almost 50 years.
Right.
Almost 50 years.
Right. And it turns out the Dalai Lama's a tongue sucker after all.
Yeah, right, exactly, yes.
He's taking
Almost
pictures
50
with
years.
Shmuley.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what you're looking at, right? That is the contrast. And that's why Petro said, they'll bomb us all because, the way the West fights is with guns and with bombs and with torture and with starvation and with deprivation. China has not fought a war in my lifetime. How many have we fought? Too many to count. And
we're
that's
never
the
not
divide.
at war.
Yeah, we're never not at war. That's exactly right. All right. Skyman says Trump, by his nature, can't back down, not even to his own base. At this rate, tragedy and war are the only real tools this administration has left. Exactly. Pete, thanks to the $5, says, yep, what RB said. Amazing interview on Chris Hedges' report with original Epstein files black book leaker from yesterday. Deep dive on the cover-up back to George W. in 2007. Thank you for that. Ovan the King, thanks to the $5, says Trump sounds like one of those guys from the Cali South Park episodes huffing his own farts. Thank you, Ovan. Tom, thanks to the $9.99, says, I'm a black guy who as a teen has a close friend, a half Italian whose dad was a small-time mafia don for real. He threw around Jewish slurs and black slurs all the time. Batya is nuts. Yes, thank you, Tom. Not surprising. Thank you, Tom. Eric Rousseau says, Alex Jones, the interdimensional demons had the Epstein files, so they are unholy now. That's right. Djibouti is pronounced sort of like Djibouti or Djibouti. Yeah, I couldn't read it. It was too small. Djibouti. Thank you for that. Kem and G says, at the next Due Dissidents live show, Russ reads the entire Hebrew Bible out loud. Keaton, indeed. Thank you for that very much. Thank you, Kem and G. Appreciate it. All right, we are going to move right on along. So, folks, one of the participants at the Hague Summit was, of course, the based Republic of Ireland. And so I-24 News says Ireland is advancing the settlement boycott bill, which would criminalize any trade with Israeli settlements. Today, the bill was approved by the Irish Senate. Here is the story. Ilan Levy, you may remember him. He's big on X. So I'm going to show you this video, and then there's a little twist. There's a little twist to this video that I will reveal when it's done. So here is this report.
We are doing commerce with people who are committing war crimes.
Ireland has always been a vocal supporter of the Palestinian cause, but today it took an unprecedented step.
Those in favour say Tá. Those against say Níl.
The Irish Senate voting to pass a bill making trade with Israeli settlements a criminal offence.
How can we condemn the settlements as illegal, as theft of land and resources, but then happily buy the proceeds of this crime?
A bill criminalising the importation of goods from settlements in any illegally occupied territory, but with one specific country clearly in mind.
Israel is an apartheid state, and yes, we must stand against apartheid.
If the bill passes the next Senate reading in Ireland's lower house, it could be punishable by up to 5 years in prison to sell products from Israeli settlements. A step some thought doesn't go far enough.
Personally, I would like to see sanctions against Israel for crimes against humanity.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, an emotive issue in a country that identifies strongly with the Palestinian side.
All right, so there you have it. Now, the twist to that story is that video was actually from the year 2018. That's when this bill was brought up.
Oh,
so,
you got us.
Yeah. So when anybody tells you that this all started on October 7th, look at some of the signs there. End the genocide in Gaza. Stop the mass murder in Palestine. Those were relevant in 2018 when people were demonstrating in support of this effort. Now, I guess it did not advance all the way, but it's getting closer now, and they are nearing a vote, which is why the U.S. envoy to Israel, Mike Huckabee, tells Ireland to sober up. Sober up, he says, over occupied Palestinian territories bill. Ireland appears closer to passing a bill that will ban trade with illegal Israeli settlements in occupied territories in the West Bank, sparking sharp criticism from U.S. officials who have signaled the move could harm Dublin's relationship with Washington. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee accused Ireland of diplomatic intoxication Tuesday in a sharp rebuke of the draft legislation, invoking a derogatory stereotype of the Irish people. Yeah, here is his tweet. Did the Irish fall into a vat of Guinness and propose something so stupid that it would be attributed to act of diplomatic intoxication? It will harm Arabs as much as Israelis. Sober up, Ireland. Call the Israel Foreign Ministry and say you're sorry. The insults, like they are so incredibly arrogant. Like you don't understand how that plays to people. What about Irish Americans who voted for Trump? There are a lot of Irish cops who love Donald Trump. A lot of Irish people in America voted for Trump. I don't know what the polling is, but, they're a big part of that working class, old sort of, Reagan Democrat coalition who got screwed over and swung back to Trump. But, you're going to fucking make what? I don't know. We'll go as far as to, I don't want to sound like a blue hair and call that racist, but yeah, it's a prejudice joke. It's a discriminatory dig against the Irish people in favor of a foreign country, in favor of a foreign power. Like, you don't see the resentment that breeds. What if you're an Irish American and you see this? Oh, did they fall into a vat of Guinness and commit an act of diplomatic intoxication? Like, you're asking people to endure such humiliation at the hands of Israel, as if everything else wasn't horrible enough, which of course it is. The humiliation you're willing to put your own people through to accommodate the sensibilities of Israel is just, it's provoking, yes, a huge backlash, obviously.
And to say something like that in defense of a political project that is wokeness on steroids,
yes,
and its hypersensitivity to the use of language and claims that that's anti-Semitic, this is anti-Semitic, to then just go full-on racist against your political opponents like that, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's all right.
That's okay. Yeah, just incredible. So actually, Barley responds to Mike Huckabee. You represent America, not Israel, which has many more Irish people in it than Israeli. You are embarrassing and should resign so you could spend your time in Israel like you want instead of being a two-faced traitor. Yes, well said, actually,
Listen,
Barley.
I have no fucking patience for any of these fanatical Zionists that don't go live in Israel. If I believed in the Israel project like that, like they claim to, and I really believed that whole project was under threat from evil, barbaric forces, I would definitely move there. No doubt. Absolutely, I would move there.
Suspect Dialect says, no, Mike, we fell into a vat of basic humanity. Why don't you join us? It's simply a matter of regarding all human beings as being equal and equally worthy of life. Come on in, Mike. Join us. Well, the best you're going to get from Mike Huckabee is this. I have asked Israel to aggressively investigate the murder of Saif Musalet, an American citizen who was visiting family in Sinjil when he was beaten to death. There must be accountability for this criminal and terrorist act. Saif was just 20 years old. So this was the American who was just killed in the West Bank, which to many people's surprise, he actually did. He actually took the step of asking Israel to investigate this. That's as much humanity as you're going to get out of Mike Huckabee. And even that surprised a lot of people. We're referring to, of course, this U.S. citizen killed in West Bank settler attack. On Monday, the chair of the Jewish Representative Council of Ireland, Maurice Cohen, called the bill a performance of misguided effort. It won't bring two states closer, but it might drive Jewish communities here in Ireland further into fear and isolation, Cohen said. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham also weighed in on the bill, saying Tuesday that he hopes Ireland will reconsider their efforts to economically isolate Israel.
Again, if that's going to drive you into fear and isolation, I hear there's this country that you're crazy about. Right. Why don't you fucking go there then?
Yeah. I mean, Graham's not Jewish, but I'm sure they would give him a special visa. special LGBT visa he could get over there.
Absolutely.
Reopen some of the sex shops.
Yeah, you could take a tour with Michael Rappaport.
Yeah, exactly.
Here I am, shoving this dildo right up Lindsey Graham's ass, and it's fine.
It's fine.
You show me anywhere else in the Middle East where you can just shove silicone up a senator's ass.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's how tolerant we are in Israel, Tel Aviv. So yeah, here's Lindsey Graham's tweet about this, and he was not alone. He was not alone. Representative Claudia Tenney, Brad Schneider, Daniel Webster, Tom Emmer. Look at all these people coming out tweeting their support for Israel against Ireland. So here's the tweet here from Antifa Ultras. After Ireland proposed a boycott law targeting goods from Israeli-occupied territories, U.S. right-wing politicians lined up to condemn it, calling it anti-Semitic and threatening Ireland. Criticizing Israel is treated like a crime now. Solidarity is growing. So is pressure. Yes, indeed. And it wasn't just these senators and Congress people who tweeted their support. Look at the graphics in these tweets. There were there was this wellspring of op-eds criticizing this bill.
Yeah.
Those are really the only sources that you can find on it. The only coverage that this got in the U.S. was from op-eds like this. Ireland will regret its anti-Israel boycott. Op-eds in Fox News, Ireland's proposed boycott of Israeli businesses creates dangerous legal trap for American investors. And of course, Wall Street, BDS will be bad for Irish business. You couldn't just find, like, we often do a New York Times write-up on what the bill is.
Right.
You just couldn't find any neutral, professional, down the middle news coverage about this. Every outlet that covered it either covered it from the angle of, we're going to run an op-ed about how horrible this is, or they covered Mike Huckabee's racist dig at the Irish. You couldn't really find just a straight down-the-middle news piece anywhere. I searched far and wide, could not find it. CNN, back to the article. If the legislation, Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory, prohibition of importation of goods bill 2025 passes in Ireland's, I don't know what that word is, sorry, Irish, or I'll learn it if I end up moving there, which is more likely now after reading this, or Parliament.
Vamos a España.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's close. They were both participants at the summit. Spain and Ireland
They're
were both
there.
Based. Yep.
They're both based. The weather's a lot better in Spain.
It is.
Food's a lot better.
Yeah, food is better. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Beaches. I say Spain.
All right. Well, sorry, Ireland. You're a close second. The backup. It will mark the first time a European Union member state has enacted such a law. The first time a European Union member state has enacted such a law. The bill was first tabled in 2018, as we saw in the report, and has regained momentum since Israel's destructive military campaign in Gaza following October 7th. Solidarity with the Palestinian cause is long-standing across most of Irish society and politics, with many in Ireland identifying a shared historical experience of subjugation by an occupying state. Ireland first became the first EU member state to call for a Palestinian statehood in 1980, actualized in its formal recognition of the state of Palestine in May 2024. Israel closed its embassy in Dublin in 2024, with Israel's foreign minister Gideon Saar accusing Ireland of extreme anti-Israel policies. No, there's nothing extreme about this. This is as sensible as it could possibly get.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, lad.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good accent. So good for them. Good for them. We'll follow this. We will obviously have more to say if and when, knock on wood, this finally passes. But yeah, this is an extension of that Hague Summit piece. Ireland was a member of the Hague Summit. This is what countries are going to have to do, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it. The tide has turned, the narrative has shifted, and ultimately this sentiment is just too big to suppress, right? I mean, you just cannot control what billions of people think, and eventually that is going to have some impact on power. And so good for Ireland. Slante.
It is my belief that if you go out far enough along the timeline, forget about Israel being sanctioned. It's going to come a day when the United States gets sanctioned.
Well, yes, of course, and that's why this Hague Summit is so significant. You're seeing, you know, a group of nations organize as forces of civilization, and it's
Yep.
tragic and embarrassing that we are not part of that. I think we should do what we can as Americans to, you know, gain enough power here so that we can join the forces of civilization, right?
That would be nice.
So that we could actually help create a better world. But in the interim, you know, I said this way back. I said this way back. I said ultimately, you know, because during the campaign season, there's a lot of talk about weighing different policies against each other. And I said, look, ultimately the solution here vis-a-vis Israel-Palestine is just not going to come from within the American system. The American system is
Right.
too captured, quite frankly. Look at that. You got fucking dozens of senators and Congress people tweeting out op-eds about this fucking bill in Ireland. I mean, like, what does that tell you? That tells you that this country is just right now at the moment. You're not going to get solutions from the U.S. It's going to take the rest of the world.
No, we're
to organize.
the obstacle to peace.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, this is what Gandhi meant when they asked him, "What do you think of Western civilization?" And he answered, "I think it would be a good idea."
Yeah, it would be a good idea. That's right. That's right. Be an interesting experiment. All right, what do we got here? Peru's Nahavandi says not to be a kook, but is satanic ritual abuse real, or is it PDF file error? The worst it gets when it comes to blackmail. Thank you. Well, that might be in the files. That is a question Pam Bondi could answer.
That's a question. That's a question for Donald Trump.
It's a question for Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. We simply do not know. There is no way we could say. Nas M, thanks for the $5. Trump never truly cared about MAGA. He was paid to prioritize Israel. The savior narrative was always a fantasy. Yes, of course. Drukas Music, thanks for the $4.99. Colombian musician here, living in NYC. Happy to help translate anytime. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Muchas gracias, amigo.
Muchas gracias. Russell's Peasant Mind says, Lindsey Graham, now there's a man who can pass an egg test. Good one.
He's put in the work.
Yeah, he's got it. Val says, hey, Ireland, don't listen to Lizard Graham or Moron Huckabee. We the people love you. Thanks, Due Dissidents, for great work. Thank you, Val. Appreciate that very much. All right, I got to copy these Rumble rants over. We're a little behind on those. We'll get to them after this next segment. So go ahead, take it away.
So this is Donald Trump as he's starting to distance himself from the Epstein files and blame them on James Comey now is responsible.
She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Yeah, he's speaking there of Pam Bondi. Now, given that he's trying among all the other, limbic system knee-jerk reactions to people's names that he's trying to get out of his base with Obama and Clinton, who 5 minutes ago he was talking about Clinton being on that plane 27 or 28 times. But all of a sudden the Clintons are responsible. So it was a little out of joint that Comey's daughter was in charge of the Diddy case, in charge of the Epstein case, in charge of the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and now she's out. Manhattan prosecutor handled Epstein cases is fired. Now, you can really see how difficult this whole situation is for the griftosphere by the way that Ingram talks about this. She really doesn't know what to say.
This has been a bad few-week stretch for Jim Comey's daughter. She was just fired by the DOJ. She's known for a couple things. She just lost the Diddy case, of course, and she was Jeffrey Epstein's prosecutor. So the daughter of the former FBI director, James Comey, she's a veteran federal prosecutor, worked on these cases. Maureen Comey is fired. So this is sending tongues a-wagging as the internet personalities and others, and this show has asked questions about what happened with the files, why did we overpromise and underdeliver? but the president has made his opinion on this very clear over the last couple of days. We're going to continue to cover this. And
Yeah, that's very, I just don't even know how to talk about this. Now, in terms of the perception, I got to say, I hadn't really given this all that much thought until this broke. The Diddy case, I do think that there was some incompetence there, because when you look at the kind of text messages they were able to dig up of Cassie Ventura seemingly enthusiastically planning freak-offs, and audio, which in discovery they had to have known this evidence was there before they brought these, before they went ahead with this trial, of her threatening the life of a male escort. Common sense, that was not going to clear a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. It just wasn't.
Right.
Not with that evidence out there. So, yeah, I think there's some incompetence in bringing that. Can't really say she was incompetent on Epstein, given that he was deleted from his jail cell under mysterious circumstances, and Maxwell got 20 years. So,
right.
You know, her track record is not really terrible. I would imagine not worse than any other federal prosecutor, maybe better than some. I do think the Diddy case was a big fumble. Of course, we have thoughts about why that might have been. I'll be very interested to see. Whitney says she has a new series about all that coming out. Maureen Comey, a Manhattan federal prosecutor who worked on the criminal cases against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, was abruptly fired on Wednesday by the Trump administration, according to 6 people with knowledge of the matter. Though the reason for Ms. Comey's firing was not immediately clear, her dismissal immediately raised questions given her involvement in the Epstein-related cases that have roiled the White House in recent days. Ms. Comey was informed of her firing in a letter that cited Article 2 of the Constitution, which describes the powers of the president according to 2 of the people. Ms. Comey is also the daughter of the former FBI director James Comey, an adversary of President Trump, who has recently been under scrutiny by federal law enforcement authorities. For more than a week, Mr. Trump and his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, have been seeking to quell outrage from many of the president's supporters over the administration's reluctance to release files related to Mr. Epstein's sex trafficking case. Since a memo was released by the Justice Department earlier this month, affirming that no list of Mr. Epstein's clients existed, I would probably use the word asserting rather than affirming, and that he had in fact deleted himself, the issue has sowed significant dissent and infighting among Mr. Trump's base. So case in point, all right, so this is pretty funny. This is so now they're going to try to jump on this as part of their cope. And
Right.
this is why I say the griftosphere is going to move on before rank and file MAGA people do, because they have a vested financial interest in moving on.
He drained the swamp.
Yeah, well, they're also trying to frame this as see,
Right.
which just absolutely, there's no logic to this. See, he's getting rid of her because she's blocking.
Right. She fucked the case up, and so
Epstein
now she's out. Right.
Yeah, right.
Pathetic.
Exactly. Nick Sorter, breaking. The Trump DOJ has fired Maureen Comey, daughter of disgraced FBI Director James Comey. Finally, Maureen was a prosecutor for the Southern District of New York and played a key role in prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Diddy. None of that fucking means anything, but he's hoping that his half-bright audience will bite on that. This one's really pathetic. Did you read that Maureen Comey edited the Epstein files? Yeah, we knew. We got you, POTUS. With a picture of Bongino and Cash Patel. Yeah, we got you, POTUS. we're getting rid of the deep state actors who altered the files that you can't release now because they altered them under the last administration and forgot to release them to politically devastate you and make sure you didn't get elected. They forgot to do that part, though.
Yeah.
Gunther Eagleman, I keep saying, if you know this guy, go knock on his door, check on him. I'm worried about him. I'm really worried about this guy. He's watching his whole grift go up in smoke, and he's not taking it well. The meltdown on CNN over Maureen Comey's firing is awesome. Excellent decision to get her the hell out of SDNY. Now 3 hours after this, I'm sure he tweeted some shit like, the files have to be released.
Right,
no! Yeah. He really doesn't know what the fuck to do.
Why fire her now?
Can we talk about Maureen Comey for a second? Maureen Comey was for 10 years an extremely successful, dedicated, and ethical assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. She was a high-ranking person in that office. She became the head of the Public Integrity Unit. She supervised the case against Robert Menendez, the corrupt senator. She tried Ghislaine Maxwell. She tried P. Diddy. The idea that she got fired is a disgrace to the Justice Department. And Jay Clayton, supposedly the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, ought to resign himself in disgrace because he allowed this to go on. This is an outrage that this woman got fired.
Let me add to what you're saying. According to a source,
we're so back.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't speak to her 10 years there. I don't know in terms of these particular cases. Yeah, I think the Diddy case was dumb given the evidence that the defense was able to produce. It was obvious that was not going to clear a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. The other ones, I mean, that's a red herring. The one was not there to prosecute, and the other one, she got the conviction. Firing Maureen Comey only makes Trump look even more guilty in the Epstein-Trump cover-up. The MAGA cult is finally having their day of reckoning for their willful ignorance in being duped by a pedo that told them he was going to stop pedos. Where's the lie? I'm sorry, where's the lie? We've showed this video many times now of Donald Trump macking on his own children. I'm sorry, man. All that stuff was out there. Why you thought this guy was going to bring down a guy with similar tastes? I mean, Epstein, I don't think he had any kids. I don't think he had any kids. You could say Trump was worse.
No, Trump was clearly friends with him. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's friendly with him too.
I mean, come on. The parasite class. Who knows? Maybe firing Maureen Comey was just a coincidence. Well, I mean, it's hard to say really what it means. It seems like if you look at the way the griftosphere is trying to spin it, they fired her as some kind of attempt to put it on her. What's happening with the Epstein files? See, it was her that altered it. So we would love to have released them, but Maureen Comey and her corrupt father got a hold of those files before we got the chance to find the evildoers. That's the only logic that I could see.
Yeah, well, no, this is what I will maybe brand the foot soldier strategy. Remember when the Democrats were trying to force Biden out of the race, and I said first what they're going to do is they're going to have chirpings in the media about how sources are really panicking about him. Then they're going to have the really low-level Democrats, right, who no one really gives a shit about, come out and say he must drop out, right? Those are the foot soldiers. Then if that doesn't work, then we're going to have higher level people say he has to drop out. And ultimately it took, Schumer and Pelosi publicly saying it and Obama, privately telling him, laying down the law. Same thing here. They're going to try and handle this from the bottom on up. All right, let's see how much mileage can we get out of firing Maureen Comey, right? How much goodwill does that win us back? If that does the trick, then great. It's not going to do the trick, obviously. So then they're going to have to take it to another level, to another level, to another level until they can maybe get this thing under control. The problem is, of course, in this situation, and it was a similar problem that the Democrats had, which is why it took as long as it did to get him out of the race. The guy at the top is an obstacle to all of this because he clearly does not want the list put out because it seems now by everyone's admission he's on it. Even Megyn Kelly is saying, yeah, he's on it. He's not on it in a way that implicates him in wrongdoing. Okay, sure, fine. Go ahead, run with that. See how well that ages. See how well history judges you for that. But 99% on Polymarket say he's in the file. So this is the problem. They're trying to handle this with minimal disruption. And so getting rid of Comey, that's minimal disruption for now. Hoping it'll work. It's not going to work. This is just like sending the foot soldiers after the Ninja Turtles. They get rid of them easy. Yeah, they cut through them like butter. And then it takes the final boss to maybe fight him. That's what this is. That's the metaphor. It's like you're just wasting time throwing useless shit out to see if it works. It's clearly not going to. It's clearly not going to. Nick Sorter could tweet about it. What has that done to quiet things down? Nothing. But of course they're going to try and say, yeah, it's her fault that this was a disaster. And so we made her pay the price. No, we couldn't get you the files, but we sure made the woman whose fault it was pay. Nonsense. But that's what I think was motivating this.
Listen, Ron, this isn't going away. Remember we talked about you cutting some holes in that chain link fence and letting some of those alligators in?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to have to go with that.
Right, the alligators. That's what they're going to have to turn to. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, they are going to have a very difficult time getting people to turn the page from this. No doubt about it. Yep. All right, let's take some Rumble rants over here. Damon Wolf, thanks for the $10. There's only two options to stop the genocide. The U.S. shuts it down or the rest of the world makes it untenable for Israel to exist as it is. I wish the Hague Group all the luck and success. Exactly. The only way to stop this at this point is for either the U.S. to cut them off or for the rest of the world to band together. Very well said. Mark Pugliese, boys, this is crazy. I languished in darkness since the 70s. Now everyone's saying what I was saying right along. I must be fucking Jesus. Well, congrats, Mark Pugliese. Thanks for the chat. No one tells Ireland to sober up. Up with your dukes, you southern cousin fucker. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man, the first time I traveled in Ireland, it was all being like politically correct. I'm in a bar. The Irish guy says to me, he's having a beer. He goes, "Oh, the Irish curse." And I was very uncomfortable with that. I was like, that's not just a stereotype. He goes, "No, it's not."
That's funny. When was that? When were you first in Ireland?
19.
Oh, wow. So the 80s, right? Yeah.
Yep.
EO Shush says if the DOJ had Trump's file, they would have used it. That file is with Bibi. That's why they did Israel Gate, and Bibi is threatening Trump. If Epstein's case exposes Israel, they take down Trump with them. Could be. Not into beer vat hot tubs, more into weed steam rooms. There you go, Eric Husso. Kemen G says, I don't hard Fuckabee. Thank you for that. Keller Hinton says Epstein list will drop next week and it'll contain all the people in the Hague Group but nobody else. Yes, it'll be written in crayon. Chuds will shake fists and say that's what I voted for. Thank you, Keller Hinton. Appreciate that. Healing Tarzan, as someone who plays Irish music semi-professionally, I have to say I'm so proud of the Irish today. Slante. Oh, are you a session player? Is that what you do? My dad's friend was a session player. Played fiddle in Irish sessions. He did it. He didn't do it pro, but that was a great passion of his.
Yeah, James plays bagpipes.
Oh, really? Neggy? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Used to be in a bagpipe band when we were growing up.
You ever march in the parade with the bagpipes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
one of those bands, they used to pay to go march in those parades.
Oh, wow.
Like
cool.
It was like a professional bagpipe band.
Like a gig, wow.
Yep.
Trump is playing snakes and ladders, and all the ladders got used to get him elected. Yes, thank you, Get Up King. Appreciate that very much. All right, folks, we're going to move right along here. After this segment, we'll be switching over to the Rumble side for the remainder of the show. So if you want to head over there, it's dudissidents.com/Rumble. Takes you over there, but we will do this segment first before we head on over. So still got plenty of show left, everybody. All right, folks, this went kind of viral last night for pretty good reason. It's nothing too surprising if you saw the Louis Theroux documentary for the BBC called The Settlers. Daniela Weiss, who is considered the godmother, quote unquote, of the Israeli settler movement, as Piers Morgan accurately tweets here. She is prominently featured in that film. And you get a sense of just what a remorseless, and I'm sorry, there is no other way to describe her, pure evil person she is in that documentary. But I must say, this is even more chilling. This is even more chilling just because of the layout. Just the visual of it makes it more chilling. Because it's a talk show, she's looking right into the camera. And the fact that she's looking right into the camera really brings out the pure witch-like evil that she emits. I mean, that's not. I'm not saying
she really is like a character from a horror movie.
She gives off the exact vibe of like the witch in the Hansel and Gretel story. I'm not even like saying that for effect. I'm not saying that as a joke. That is as accurate as I could be. You be the judge. So here's Piers Morgan asking a very simple question. A very simple question. Do you feel bad for the Palestinian children that have been killed by the IDF over the past 21 months?
About the fact that how do you feel about the fact that over 20,000 Palestinian children have now been killed since October the 7th in Gaza?
I think that the Palestinians, as you said, I said Palestinians, the Gazans and all Arabs around should stop attacking Israel.
Right, I just asked you how you thought about 20,000 children being killed by the IDF. So how do you feel about that?
I think that the parents should be very careful before they teach the children to hate Jews and to kill Jews.
No, that wasn't my question. That wasn't my question. Sorry to be persistent, but my question.
That was your question.
My question was, how do you feel? My question was, how do you feel? How do you personally feel about over 20,000 Palestinian children now being killed since October the 7th in Gaza? How do you feel about that?
I think that Arabs, Gazans, or Jordanians, or Syrians, whoever, should be very, very careful with the way they educate the children.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. That wasn't my question.
Many of them,
clearly a psychotic person. This is clearly a maniacally evil person. Like I said, I'm not saying that for effect. I'm not saying that we make a lot of jokes. I'm not joking. There's no other way to describe this. How do you feel about the fact that 20,000 children have been killed? She responds by threatening the parents of the children. And, he brought in Cenk Uygur after this to talk about this. And, Cenk said something that was true. He said, just think about...
Was he on with Shmuley again?
He was. He says, think about the logic of what she's saying. She's saying the Arabs shouldn't teach their children to hate Jews. She's saying that to justify the killing of Arab children. So, of course, the children are going to be raised to hate Jews if the Jews kill children to punish their parents.
Right.
Like what you're saying doesn't even make logical sense, but it's almost ridiculous to even engage this logically. This is just clear psychopathic
this is
evil.
Yeah, she takes it to a psychotic level, which is why she gets so much attention, because she doesn't even try to dress it up. But this is a very typical Zionist formulation.
Yes.
They bring it on themselves.
Right.
It's that's almost the liberal Zionist position. Well, it starts with the education.
Right.
Have you ever seen what they teach these kids?
Yep. It's a pretty standard talking point. That's correct.
Many of them.
Can you answer my question?
Answer. That was my answer.
So you don't care? You have no thoughts about these children at all?
You choose your questions, and I answer them the way I believe is right.
But just to be clear, you have nothing to say about 20,000 children being killed. Nothing at all.
I have a lot to say about everything that happened as a result of the massacre of the 7th of October.
I understand you care about Israeli children who died, as do I. But I'm able to care about both sides of children who've died. Why don't you care, seemingly, about the Palestinian children who've died? Why can't you express any sympathy or sorrow or empathy with the children who've died in Gaza? Are you able to do that?
I warn all Arabs from all sides, from all borders.
Doesn't stop.
Warn them. Stop educating children to hate Jews.
Just to be clear, I've now offered you three times.
I made myself very clear.
Oh, you've made yourself very clear.
You asked me 5 times.
I'm going to give you...
Okay, so, I mean, look, I got to say, the witch has a point. Piers keeps throwing her a lifeline, trying to get something out of her, and she's like,
trying
listen,
to get something she doesn't have humanity.
Listen, I understand what you're saying. That's what she said. No, there's no confusion here. There's no language barrier. I understand what you're asking me. This is my answer.
Yeah,
I am very confident and satisfied in the pure, heinous, satanic level of evil that I am signaling with my answer. That's what she's saying there. I mean, she's right. She understands what he's saying. She will not budge.
You
asked me 7 times.
I'm going to give you one last chance to offer some empathy or sympathy.
He laughs.
Or sorrow
Look at
about the deaths of 20.
Look at that grin. Tell me that is not a satanic. I mean, I said, I'm not even joking.
That's a Nazi. That's a Nazi.
Of course.
How is that not a Nazi? I think that the Jews have brought this on themselves.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
20,000 children in Gaza. Are you capable of doing that?
I can tell you that had you cared, and I don't believe you that you care a tiny bit about one killed person, if you do not use the means that you have as a media person to stop educating children.
I gave you 4 chances.
Jews. Right. Okay, you gave me 7. You gave me 7.
And you know what? You couldn't give a damn, could you?
That you are to blame more than me.
You don't care. And all you want is all the Palestinians gone. You can barely even bring yourself to say their name. All you want is to take over the West Bank and Gaza. You don't care how many die in the process. You want them all gone. You don't care, do you? That's the bottom line.
Wow.
As you said, the audience will judge.
Yeah, they will.
Unbelievable. You know, I meant to mention in the segment we did about Ireland's boycott bill, and I'm kicking myself now because I didn't, but I'll try and make up for it here. The Ireland boycott bill doesn't even enforce boycotts against Israel. It simply enforces boycotts against the settlements, against people like this. Yeah. Against the settlements in the West Bank that are deemed illegal, which are illegal under international law. Right.
Even so when countries that do not criticize Israel's existence in and of itself, those settlements are recognized to be illegal. They were illegal in the United States until Miriam stuck her hand up Trump's ass and he rescinded that.
Yes, exactly. So when dozens of American politicians rush to Twitter to chastise Ireland for boycotting settlements, they're doing so to defend people like this. This is whose side the Americans are on. Right? Now, you're going to have some American politicians come out and call her an extremist, and she is an extremist in her presentation. I mean, just the way she presents like a literal witch. And like I said, I'm not even saying that for effect. That's literally as accurate as I could be when I'm talking about her. But what she is saying there is a very accurate representation of mainstream Israeli politics, which is that, yes, the Arabs teach their children to hate us, and so everything is fair game. That's a mainstream opinion in Israel. That's not out of bounds.
It is. She just presents it without any window dressing. She doesn't present it with the obligatory more in sorrow than in anger.
Right.
That Zionists will usually present. It's terrible. It's a kakistocracy over there. You know, they just they have terrible leadership. And, you know, they teach them from children. Have you seen their textbooks in the schools, what they teach them? You know, she doesn't do any of that. I think they should stop. All she has to say is, even if she doesn't mean it, and I got to say, Zionists mostly don't, but they have enough sense to pretend to care. All she has to do is pretend to care to get out of that.
Yes, it's a tragedy, yes.
Yes, it's terrible. I think it's terrible because they teach them to hate.
Right, exactly. You could even, if you had any, like, sense. This is what I mean. This is why I say she's just pure, just distilled evil.
Like she's like out of Rosemary's Baby. She would have been one of the neighbors.
Right, exactly. Right, because she does not know to couch it in those terms. It's just you're getting the pure sentiment. Yeah, just really, really chilling stuff. Eric Torres says they should check her hut for Hansel and Gretel. Yes, thanks, Eric Torres. Kurt Cobain says the fact Piers is almost begging her to show some emotion towards 20,000 dead children and she can't even pretend to care. Pure evil. My God. Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking. You know, I told Russell I wanted to do this. At first, Russell was like, yeah, is there a man bites dog? I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before. I'm like, I don't know, man. I saw it. I'm having trouble sleeping. Yeah. That is extreme even by Israeli standards.
Honestly, man, it's hard to gauge because
Right.
we're in this space, like
Right.
what's really going to make an impression on people.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like this went viral. This was so sick that it made an impression.
Yeah, to be leering into the camera with a unmovable smile on your face while he begs you to show empathy for dead
Well,
kids.
she's the one who tried to get Thoreau into some kind of physical thing so that he'd be attacked.
She's a crazy person. She's a legit crazy person. I mean, there was this one scene in The Settlers where she's trying to maneuver her way through a checkpoint and that she's not supposed to get through, and she gets into like a chase with the IDF, trying to get around them. Like she's a legit maniac, as you can see.
Right.
Yeah. Agreeing with Piers is like eating a spoonful of Drano, says Andy Gardner. It'll clean you out, but it'll leave you hollow inside. John Smith. So what are you guys? Anti-demonic possession too. Thank you for that. Yes. Anti-Satanism, as they'll call it, right? All righty, folks. Well, hey, that concludes the YouTube portion of the show, but we have two more segments. We're going to cover Israel's attacks on Syria, and we're going to cover...
throw in the young Stephen Miller.
Oh, yeah, and the young Stephen Miller, yes. Some new footage from Stephen Miller's defense of torture as a young man. And we're also going to cover the MAGA
Portrait
pylon.
of the psychopath as a young man, we're calling that.
That's right, yes. Yes, and we're also going to cover the MAGA meltdown over Omar Fattah, who is the Somali American. He is an American citizen running for mayor of Minneapolis. So we got two full stories plus a quick hit over there. So we got plenty more show over on Rumble. So please make your way over there. DoDissident.com/Rumble. That gets you over to this very link. So if you put that in your URL, that'll take you right there. If you're on a phone or an app, just open your Rumble app and search Do Dissidents, and you will see the live stream running right now. So we got plenty more show. Please don't leave us yet. We got a lot more to cover left on the day, but that is all for now on the YouTube side. So we will take a 5-minute intermission, and we'll see you on the other side. Until then, be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.